up, y'all? It's Young Rick. Welcome to Westside Level, and today we got a very fun tutorial. We about to get into how to level some drums. So before we even get into anything, I'm gonna explain the start of this session because we're pretty much starting from the beginning. Okay, so here's the beat. It's fully produced. It's been gain staged, and then I froze all the tracks. That way we're not using the CPU from all of these synthesizers up here. So we have these frozen gain stage tracks highlighted, and then I assign them to the mixer. And now on the playlist, this is the beat. This is what we're working with right here. All right, so as you can see, we got a lot going on. We got around like a 10 track count. So the first thing I'm gonna want to do is, just so we're not all over the place, is we're just gonna loop the hook of this beat real quick. So it's just gonna play the chorus. And the thing I'm going to want to do is mute everything except but my most important instrument that I want to build the whole mix around, which is going to be my 808. So I'm going to mute everything except but the 808, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up my SSL channel. Now what's going to be the first thing I do, what's going to be the first section on this SSL channel that I look at? If you look at this bottom right corner right here, this is the corner I would consider as the preamp section. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and play with our input preamp, and I'm just gonna drive it up to the yellow. What that's gonna do is start adding a little bit of that distortion out of this unit right here. So that's gonna be my first step. All right, now that I've gotten my 808 hitting and touching around the yellow section, I'm going to go ahead and fix my attention on this dynamic section, which is really our compressor on our SSL channel. So like always, we're going to start off by setting our ratio. We're going to start with a 3-to-1 ratio. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that knob up before I even play anything. Get that to 3-to-1. And then the next thing I'm doing is I'm going to grab my threshold knob. I'm going to play the 808, and I'm going to go ahead and try to slam the 808. We're going to try to get no more than 6 decibels of reduction. All right, perfect. Now we have our threshold set. From here, we can start setting our attack on our attack and our release times. We're going to start with our attack here on the SSL channel. It doesn't really give you numbers that you can go by. It has pretty much a fixed section, so you can either pick fast or slow. Since this is an 808 and we don't need too much punch out of it, I'm going to go ahead and pick the fast section. That way it can catch those transients and give us a more thicker 808. And as you can see, when I adjusted the attack time for that 808, it added more gain reduction. So I did have to adjust our threshold. So we still have it sitting at around hitting no more than 6 decibels. All right, so now we're going to set our release time on our compressor. And what I'm listening for with the release time, again, and I'm going to keep going back to this definition of it, is the longer of the release time we get, the more of that SSL compressor sound we get, but at the risk of ruining our groove and sort of the punch of our 808. So let's try not to harm the groove of it, but let's try to give it a little bit of that SSL flavor and drive that release. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do right now. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it at 15. And what I wanted you to notice about that, and the reason I drove it up a little more to 20 milliseconds and even up to 40 milliseconds, is because I wanted you to hear how when we drove it up to 20, we started to lose the punch of our 808, and when we got to 40, the punch of our 808 was completely gone. So I'm not trying to kill the punch of our 808. We still want to retain that a little bit. We're just trying to give it a little bit more thickness. So now, as far as dynamics, we've gotten our 808 where we want it to be, but we're going to still need to add some EQ. Why do we need to add EQ? Because we squashed our 808. So to bring back a little bit more of those dynamics and some of the frequencies that we want to stand out, we're going to use our EQ. So let's go ahead and get to the EQ section. And the first knob I'm going to go ahead and deal with is this black section right here. This represents our low frequencies for our EQ. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is just boost it by 3 decibels, and then I'm going to go searching with my frequency knob for a spot that I think gives the 808 character. And I hear that our 808 has a lot of sub, so I'm going to stay away from the sub range of our 808 when I'm boosting, and I'm going to more so try to hit around this 200 to 300 range to give it some character in this frequency area. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. All right, so I chose around 350 hertz to give our low shelf boost to. And the reason why I chose this is because when I started to get around that range, the character of our 808 started to just pop out a lot more. So let's move on to our blue section, which is going to represent our low mid frequencies. And the difference between this is, besides the choice of frequencies, is the shape of the bell. It's not going to be a shelf filter, which was like our low frequency bell. This is now just going to be a bell filter. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. right, so couple things to note about what I did with this low mid frequency band. I boosted by 3 decibels, but I also chose around 700, the frequency 700 to boost. Why did I choose 700? Because around that area, I could start hearing more of the tone come out of the 808, but it's not so high of the tone that it starts, that I feel like we start losing the low end of our 808. Also, another thing to note is the Q. Notice that I didn't leave our Q to the left, which would have made it narrow. I made our Q, I started to widen the Q of our bell band. And the reason I did that is because the higher the frequencies I want to go, the wider of a Q I want. And that'll give me more of a natural sound for my 808. So let's move on to our green section, which is our high mid frequencies. All right, now again with this high frequency band, I boosted at around 3 decibels, and then I chose 800 as a frequency. Why? Because we're still keeping our 808 in that low range, but it's bringing out the character. And again, notice what I did with my Q. I widened the band of the Q because we're getting higher and higher in our frequencies that we're choosing. So the next two bands that we have right here is our high frequency shelf band, which I'm going to leave alone because we're dealing with the 808 and we don't really need a high shelf on it. But also we have these two filters right here. What is this one? Well, this one on the left right here, this is a low cut. So if I engage this, it'll start cutting the low end energy from our 808. We don't need that. But this filter right here is a high cut. This will start cutting some of the high frequency information from our 808. And I actually will use this. And the reason I'm going to use this is because not only will it clear up some room for other high frequencies in the mix, but it'll also kind of just shift the energy of our 808 into that low range, that bass range. So I'm going to go ahead and use our high cut filter and cut around to around like 3K or 305 3500K, not K, 3500 frequencies. All right, so I did that cut, but also what I want you to notice is I engaged the split button. What does the split button do on this SSL channel? It changes the routing. So right now, if I didn't have that split button engaged, what it would be doing is it would be doing all of our EQ moves before the compression. But what I actually want is I want our compression to be happening before our EQ. That way we thickened up our signal and then we're adding those dynamics back. So the split button changes the routing to where the compression comes before the EQ. All right, so the last thing I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to level this down and pick our level, our starting level for our 808, which I'm going to use as 18 decibels. So let's go ahead and level it back down with our output knob now. So this is the 808 without our SSL channel. This is the 808 with our SSL channel engaged. All right, and that is the tutorial for today. Like always, if this helped you, go ahead and give me a like. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section. And if you want to be up to date with more videos, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Y'all niggas be smooth. Gone.